news.
That is, in fact, the other solution.
Why, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Anime Club. My name is Nignac. With me is the great Lord Vorn.
Hi, I'm whispering right now into Seki's ear, like ASMR. This
That's-
is torture for her.
That's not an ASMR voice.
It is really
And
not.
thank God it isn't.
Realm Shifter.
Hello, everybody. I've got a big Chungus cat that currently wants all of my attention.
She is just a small creature. A baby kitty. A little child.
And Seki.
I am, in fact, here.
This week we watch Platinum End.
You scared the cat.
Somehow? I don't even understand.
No, Knick-Knack did.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but I don't even understand why she just bolted.
Oh, it was just the sudden volume change.
Can I just say, I don't really know how we managed to watch Platinum End and Seki and I read Bakuman before we covered Death Note on this channel once.
You know, I think a lot of that comes from, you would think that, like, those of us who have watched Death Note would be interested in putting it in the hat, right? But I've got a pretty firm rule for myself where I stop watching Death Note at a certain point, right? Like, there's a point in the series, I won't say what, because, you know, I'll let you guys guess in the comments, but there's just a point in Death Note where I stop, and I no longer continue watching, you know what I mean? Same thing in the manga. There's just a point where I stop. Also, I feel like Death Note is one of those things where, like, I don't really ever think of putting it. I don't think it's in the hat currently, actually, and I don't ever think of putting it in the hat because Death Note is a series. Like, a lot of the stuff in the hat, one of us has seen or two of us have seen or something like that. With Death Note, I think we've all seen it. I think we've all discussed it, like, at various times with one another. Have you not seen it, Vorn? Mm-hmm. Oh, what the fuck?
I guess we're watching Death Note in the near future.
Hey, yo, what the fuck, Vorn?
Not even for the channel. Like, he's got to watch at least, like, those first 3 episodes.
The potato chip.
I'll take a potato chip and eat it.
Yeah, oh my god, Jesus. This is one of the most cinematic moments in... yeah, no, I can't continue that thought. Sorry.
There's too many memes about it that I gave up.
You know what? That's fair. Okay. On that note, though, you brought that up because obviously Platinum End is done by the same author as Death Note.
Yes.
This is from after Death Note, though. So Platinum End ran from 2015 to 2021.
You can see some of the DNA of Death Note in this adaptation, though, and I'm sure this is from the manga directly, where it's like, between scenes it'll cut to, like, rules of the world and lore drops.
Yeah, so the anime aired between 2021 and 2022. 24 episodes. We watched the first 12. It was done by a studio I've never heard of before, Signal MD. So they're pretty new, established in 2014. They're an offshoot of Production IG. That's probably why I've never heard of them. But I have actually watched other animes by them, because they did Dragon Goes House Hunting and Fooly Cooly Progressive, episode 5. So I have actually watched stuff by them. They also did the Fate Grand Order, Divine Realm of the Round Table Camelot, Wandering Agter.
Oh, the bad one.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if that was the good one or the bad one, but I know that they did it. So, you know.
So the studio quality can vary wildly, it seems.
I liked Dragon Goes House Hunting, but
Yeah.
Dragon Goes House Hunting it's an Iashike.
Yeah.
So there's not much to it. I've actually not heard of most of the other animes that they've produced, and they haven't made a lot. I will, keep that in mind. Oh, fun fact, it's going to be dissolved in June 2025.
Damn.
It's going to be absorbed back into Production IG instead of being left as a separate studio.
Yeah.
As of June 2025.
Question, when does this video go up?
Probably a little bit before that.
May.
Yep.
May-ish?
Yep.
July. Or maybe June.
Yep.
Late May, early June.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, I pour one out for Signal MD, guys. F's in the chat.
F's in the chat, everybody.
Took the white arrow.
Yeah, for real.
So yeah, that's interesting to note. I don't have much to say about that because there's just not much that the studio has done, and I've only seen one episode and one series by them besides this. And I thought Dragon Goes House Hunting was fine, So that's fun. Yeah, I mean, we did rewatch the opening and ED right before filming today.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't hate the opening or the ED. I kind of like them.
Yeah.
They're not as good as The World, but I like them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Look, I'll say it's not as good as The World, and it's not as bad as whatever was going on with Death Note's second OP.
Yeah.
But I was kind of disappointed in the I like the more operatic like introduction part to it, and I don't care for like when it shifts into the hard rock.
I don't mind that, I think.
Me being the what is it, hard rock and / metal fan that I am, I appreciate that actually. But,
Thank you.
Yes.
That's just
Yes.
crisp.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah, I don't mind it at all. I think it's fun. I will say it doesn't necessarily stand out as something very unique. And I hate to be once again, okay, this is the last time I'm going to compare it to Death Note for now. It certainly doesn't stand out like The World. But I mean, you know, I don't expect it to. You know what I mean? I think part of the reason why The World is so popular is because it was so memed and used in everything when Death Note came out. And I do think it's not super fair to continually compare this to Death Note. So I will try to not do that continually for this entire review.
I think there are parts where it's appropriate. Like I mentioned the lore drops. Like that is clearly a creative choice by the author.
Yeah, but opening ED isn't really a fair comparison.
No.
Because they're by different people and for different
No.
series.
Yep.
And they're separated by what, like 15 years?
Right.
Ish. I do want to know when Death Note came out. Okay, 2003 to 2006.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was definitely early 2000s.
Bakuman followed that immediately, and then as soon as they were done with Bakuman, they did skip Yamada-kun. I've read that. But that was a one-shot, I think, or something, and then Platinum End, and they haven't done anything since.
Yeah.
But it looks like they usually take like a year or two, a couple years break between series to kind of, probably to think of new ideas or something. I don't know.
Right.
Interesting to note, though. So, they do not appear to currently be doing anything. But yeah, I mean, you and I did finish Bakuman on the channel.
So what
The
you're
manga.
saying is we need to do skip Yamada-kun before Death Note ever comes out of that hat.
Exactly.
Oh my.
We need to put off Death Note for as long as possible. That's the current objective.
I do think it's a little funny that we had not even, you know, especially because I think watching this, you know what the wild thing was. So watching it, obviously, Death Note was done by a different studio than this, right?
Yeah.
Because Death Note was done much earlier than this. But because the studio, and applause for this, they keep with the artist's original style, right? They don't kind of, like, it does keep to the style of the Death Note artist. Because of that, I kept looking at the characters and being like, that looks like Light, or that looks like L, or that looks like genuinely, and I felt bad about that. I did feel really bad about that because it's not often that you can make a comparison that like one-to-one. I think the only other time that I've been able to do that is so the Fairy Tail author had a similar thing where they did Rave Master, Fairy Tail, and now they're doing Eden Zero and Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest. And you're kind of, I look at the characters and I'm like, this is just the same character in 3 different universes.
Look, sometimes faces just come back.
And names, in the case of Eden Zero.
Yeah.
Names and faces and personalities.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, I love Eden Zero. Don't hate on the series for that, but you know.
Like, I do want to recognize this work is wholly its own thing. This is not a work that needs to be compared to Death Note, but its comparisons are easily made to the point where I was watching it. I didn't know that this was. I didn't look into this before I started watching this. I didn't know it was Death Note's author. I figured that out by the end of like episode 1 or 2.
I'm gonna be honest. The art tipped me off in the opening of episode 1.
Yeah.
That like the art. Here's a fun opinion I have about the art. I do not think that the art of Death Note is particularly intensely unique. It's not weird or stand out like One Piece or like Pokemon is compared to like general anime, right? But the artist has just like a very specific way of how they draw like hair and faces that it's incredibly memorable, right? And like I could pick this out of a lineup against like 100 other anime done with like kind of, you know, similar styles, just on the basis of the fact that the author just has something about it that's just different enough that while it doesn't look completely different from all other anime, I could easily pick it out as being by this author.
It's just different enough to be recognizable.
And they did a good job translating that to the anime, I think. I didn't find any fault with the animation, to be honest. It was solid quality for what they were covering, you know? Obviously, we're not, you know, we're not over here doing, like, Avengers Marvel movie.
Right.
You know, but it was solid.
Yeah.
Also, dark fantasy. I mean, the author really likes their kind of more on the mature and dark side.
They tend to like their religious iconography. And
Did the self-inserts in Bakuman not tip that off for you?
Look. I think it's funny how much they get away with in terms of it being like a thriller and a dark fantasy when it's still labeled in the shonen demographic and not the seinen.
This manga was published in Jump.
Yep.
Okay.
No, Jump Square.
Jump Square, okay.
Which is one of the Jump offshoots, but it is shonen and it was published in Jump Square. So like, you know, it's surprising that how much this author gets away with and still making it shonen and not seinen.
I mean, shit, yeah, you gotta consider it, especially considering what we learn about how the mechanic of even these characters getting their angels to begin with works.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Which on that note, this series is depressing.
Oh yeah. It is full of depression.
Realm,
Yeah.
you picked a uniquely bad 2 weeks to make me watch something that was depressing.
I was not this was
Because I was already emotional for the last 2 weeks.
and then I just
You made her more.
and then I'm just dragging you down.
You know, just that one line that just pushes me over the edge into like streaming tears for no goddamn reason.
Oof.
Well, for very good reasons, but for no goddamn reason.
Right.
Like, definitely not the fault of the anime,
Yeah.
but like,
I mean,
fuck this.
I mean, at the same time, this wasn't exactly what I was expecting it to be. Like, I was expecting it to definitely be what is it, like, heavy on themes of like morality or whatever you might call it, especially.
Were you perhaps interpreting this through the lens of Death Note when you originally heard of it?
No, because I didn't.
Because
Even...
Death Note's heavy on morality.
No,
and
no,
stuff.
it is. It definitely is. But I wasn't. I didn't even know that this was done by the same creator as Death Note when I put this in the hat.
Okay, never mind.
So I was today years old when I discovered that this was made by the same person that made Death Note.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only reason why I thought that this was actually going to be like the way it was is because like of a Crunchyroll clip that they had of that child getting whacked.
I think Platinum End is one of those series that I've seen it around. Like it definitely wasn't unpopular when it came out because I definitely remember hearing a bunch about it and like I remember it being a thing. Which is more than I can say for some of the anime that we've watched on this channel. Like
I remember it being in a Giguk video at one point.
Yeah, I did not remember that, but like I knew what Platinum End was when you said Platinum End. Like I didn't have to look it up to figure out what it was.
Yeah.
So it's definitely interesting because I don't know if I would have expected this to be one of those things that kind of like even I still remember from when it like came out.
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't know if I would have expected this to be as popular as I think it was. Not to say obviously that like I know exactly what's popular in the anime fandom because I definitely don't. But I don't know why I didn't expect exactly what this was going to be, but I just didn't. I think for some reason I thought this was going to be a lot more lighthearted from what I'd seen.
I didn't expect something lighthearted, but I also didn't expect it to be as maybe battle focused. I mean, it's not even all that battle focused as like a series goes. It's still a lot of it before you actually get into any major fight scenes is just characters talking between each other kind of in Death Note fashion, where they're spewing back and forth their own kind of moralistic views of what they think is right or wrong, why they will or won't do certain things, because the whole premise of this is that whoever supposedly wins this outcome is supposed to become the next god.
Yeah.
So it's just, there's a lot of very heavy focus on like individual moralities, what's a line that certain people will and won't cross, and how do they come to that conclusion. It's very, I'm not going to say it's like ham-fisted, but it wants to make sure that you get the point of where the characters are coming from.
Yeah, I think a lot of that, I think Nick Nack already brought it up, but the lore interspersed, right? Where they kind of just like break away from like us watching the characters to like chunks of like information. Normally I'd be like, you know, show me, don't tell me.
Yeah.
But I didn't mind it in this case.
It was a clear homage to Death Note. I don't know if this was the manga that did it or the animation studio that did it, but it was a clear homage.
Yeah, like I said, I've not read this, and I don't know how much this anime was inspired by Death Note, but Death Note also has very similar, like, cutaways, right? Like, flipping to the rules and stuff. And it did feel like that. And I think in something like this, I feel like we as the viewer are almost put in the perspective of, like, you know how in Lost Einherjar, right? You know how they're kind of like got like the Coliseum matches and there's the people tuning in from all over and donating,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. It kind of felt like we're supposed to be in the perspective of someone who's getting to watch this happen as like an event, right? Like a reality TV show almost, with them coming in to explain rules to us as we watch, so that we understand exactly what's happening. And I don't hate that as like a way that the show feels like it was framed. I don't know if that's just me that got the vibe that this kind of felt like watching like almost like a season of Survivor. It kind of felt like a little bit.
I can kind of see that.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just me who got that, but like I definitely got some like vibes that were very sort of reality TV.
Me thinks Seki may be reading too much Orv right now.
I'm also currently watching Survivor, so you know, there's that as well.
Yes.
Unbeknownst to I'm sure most people on the channel, but Seki and Mama Seki are huge fucking Survivor fans, but only since quarantine, where we watched all the first 40 seasons in like 4 months.
There's some real stupid shit.
And when you consider, because like each episode like almost like an hour long.
Each episode's an hour long, but the seasons are only 12 to 16 episodes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still.
Yeah. But yeah.
40 seasons.
So I'm getting Survivor vibes from this, but that might just be because I'm also watching Survivor.
Right, exactly. But yeah, okay, so I have a complicated thought on this. So since I didn't go into this with the preconception or idea knowing that this was made by the same creator as Death Note, I actually didn't like the way the exposition was kind of delivered in some cases. And it was mostly just because it felt like everything was being forced down, you know, you're trying to get your point across.
It makes more sense in the context of Death Note's world when Death Note does it.
Yes.
In this world, you're just suddenly looking like, oh, here's a bubble. Here's the rules.
Right, exactly. But the other thing is, too, is because what I was expecting, especially since we kind of get this showman-y thing here with whatever the guy's name is that he pretends to be, the
Metropolitan.
Yeah, Metropolitan, okay. I almost thought that we were going to get, like, more active fights, because that's kind of, like, what it seemed like it was going to be in the beginning, and then maybe we would get, like, you know, like how we do at the beginning, like, little bits and pieces of the protagonists and our kind of casts, ideals and visions and everything, and then we would kind of ensue into different, like, fights, and maybe certain subplots. Not every character would interact with each other. But that's kind of not really what I got out of this anyway. It was, so, I'm not going to say that it's bad. but I just personally didn't like it as much as I thought I was going into it.
Well, I'm going to be the one to rip the Band-Aid off. Shit was kind of mid.
I need you to know that I decided to take a little reading break just now. Not that I wasn't listening, I was, but I was also reading.
Yeah.
And apparently, it's been compared to Mirai Nikki as its lesser sibling.
But
I haven't watched Mary Nikki. I want to watch it
Yeah.
because it's such a big
Future
name.
Diary, yeah.
That's one of the
Yeah.
ones that's in the hat, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it looks like a lot of people kind of considered it to be like a battle royale with like a rule-based thriller, but not as good as others in the same genre.
Nah,
I think
that makes sense.
my
Which is
problem
interesting.
is that it leaned a little too far into the battle genre. Like it started out like, oh, here's some interesting world building, and here's a complicated situation. Oh, Metropoliman's a cool character. I kind of like the weird tokusatsu aesthetic that he's going at to grab the people's attention. That's kind of a cool mind game.
yeah.
And then, like, about 2/3 or halfway through of our section, so at 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there, it, like, takes a hard shift into being battle. Like, suddenly, you have new guys showing up in tokusatsu outfits. You have the main characters showing up in their own, like, superhero outfits. And then, like, by the time we get to the end, we have, like, oh, now these guys have, like, the most shonen-ass, like, power set I've seen in a long time. Like, fuck. And I was like, this just is not holding my interest. It really isn't.
It started looking like Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Really.
Go, go, Power
It's like
Rangers!
Edgy Rangers.
Edgy Rangers. But to add on to what you were going to say, so I know obviously we kind of differ what we wanted more so out of this, but I will say the reason I wanted more of the battles is because I wanted it to be more like, I guess, like a typical shonen where the opposing ideals kind of baited out in the battle of ideas over their own fights.
I would like to make the note here that apparently the author himself at one point said that if the theme of Death Note is evil, the theme of Platinum End is happiness.
Yeah.
Don't see that.
Don't know if I got that in the anime.
I mean, it's kind of...
Perhaps the manga has a more nuanced...
Oh, I know. I definitely got that. Because I'm sorry, because the main character has one of those those constant flashbacks towards like when he was still a kid and his parents were still alive and everything, and it's just beating you over the head with what's the idea of happiness? What's the idea of happiness? That's probably like one of the more ham-fisted kind of ideas that's just thrown into the show for the sake of it, it feels.
For me, it just gets really, like, that particular aspect of the main character gets really bad around the time the battles start kicking in. Because then it's like, I need to fight because because I believe in happiness, and I'm just like, oh, just shut the fuck up. I don't know, I feel like my major issue right now is this feels like Seki is going to know exactly what I'm talking about. In Bakuman, the main characters have various manga they try with, like, yeah, we're going to tell this psychological thriller. It's not selling. What do? Make it a battle shonen. And then it flops. That's what this feels like to me.
Yeah.
Except it didn't flop because it at least had the pedigree of the Death Note author behind it.
Yeah, but honestly, I don't think this is a controversial opinion, but this might rile some feathers. If the pedigree of this author is Death Note and Bakuman, what a fall from grace.
I know, ironic for a series full of angels.
Because despite the fact that I don't watch or read Death Note past a certain point, I have watched and read Death Note a full way through at least once. And I do think Death Note is a masterfully done series. Like, it is incredible. There's a reason why everybody has watched it, practically. Sans Vorn, apparently, in the entire world.
Right.
But there's a reason why Death Note is so known and so memed. And Bakuman is, I think, like, on first glance, it does just kind of, like, on first glance, it's a basic commentary on, like, the manga industry based on these two authors. Because keep in mind, Death Note and Bakuman and Platinum End are not written by a single author.
Right.
They're written by an author and an illustrator working together.
Yeah.
Right?
One does the drawings,
So-
one does the narrative.
Yeah. So, at first glance of Bakuman, it's like, oh, it's a little industry commentary piece. But Bakuman feels like so much more once you've gotten into it. You know what I mean? Like, it goes beyond just being like, a little industry piece for these authors to kind of express themselves. And I feel like Platinum End just leaves me wanting in comparison to both Death Note and Bakuman. Like, it feels like a drastic drop in quality of not the art and not necessarily the story itself, the communication of the story through the characters and actions. Like, it feels like I like the thought process, right? I like the idea. I don't like how the idea was put to paper.
You don't like the execution.
Yeah.
He's good at making high concept stories, not very good at like executing them long term. And I think this series just did not have the same level of sticking power that Death Note had for as long as it did. Death Note took its time before it kind of dropped off a cliff.
Well, and on that note, I mean, so there's a point I stopped reading Death Note because I do feel that the writing declines in quality, right? Not significantly, but it does decline in quality. I had the same criticism of Bakuman around volume 16.
And how many volumes are there?
20
Okay.
of Bakuman. It's pretty short actually.
Yeah.
But around volume 16, there was a noticeable section where rather than coming up with new ideas, they repeated the same story twice in a row in two different arcs.
Yeah.
And then it kind of felt like it just trailed off to a conclusion.
Yeah.
So there's definitely like it's an ending issue. Like, it's an issue in ending the story.
They know how to
create,
push the ball, but then the ball stops sooner than it needs to. Like, they can't keep the momentum.
Yeah.
And it comes back and crushes them.
I think it's more of a middle problem.
I mean, that's also a thing.
Yeah.
Death Note doesn't have the greatest ending, and I didn't care for Bakuman's ending, but you and I had a pretty harsh disagreement on Bakuman's ending. You actually did like Bakuman's ending.
I liked Bakuman's ending. I didn't like the section, kind of like towards the end of the middle where they kind of started repeating themselves.
You can see when the author stretched the concept to what he originally had intended.
Is Bakuman still only just a manga, or does
That's been an anime.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if the anime fully adapts the manga.
Okay.
I've only seen the first season of the anime.
Okay.
Yeah. But the manga itself is quite good. Like,
I'm pretty sure it did, because I remember hearing about scenes that were in the anime but not in the manga. So from the ending.
Then it probably does. But yeah, so I don't know. I think I really applaud the concepts. I just don't think that the communication of some of the concepts was as refined as it could have been, and it left it feeling a little clunky.
Yeah, that's what I get
as a watcher.
That's what I get from this as well. Is it felt very clunky, especially coming from the author, but also given what you described, it makes sense.
I think also I think they were perhaps trying to cover too much in the amount of episodes that they produced, because this is 14 volumes, right? This is not a long series, but it's not a short series per se.
Yeah.
And so Platinum End is 24 episodes. I did not check to see if it fully adapted.
Yeah.
The manga in its entirety. But the manga was finished.
Yeah.
When it came out. So it's likely that they did fully adapt it. But 14 volumes into 24 episodes.
So this could
feels a little.
So this could be also a pacing issue unique to the anime.
Like,
if they did adopt it into a full.
Maybe they would have needed less cutaways to explain the world if they had been able to take more time setting up the world, and it would have felt like there was less battle royale if there was less battle royale in proportion to the thriller aspects and the rule-based aspects, perhaps.
But then also you have to consider other aspects of the art of manga in and of itself, where you have the page turn instead of, say, like different scenes and everything within the scope of an anime. And you can kind of read these things at your own pace, so things change from medium to medium.
Okay, so the anime does appear to fully adapt the manga. So they did cram 14 volumes of content into 24 episodes. So pacing is probably definitely part of our issues.
Yeah.
Obviously, we only watched the first half of this. But yeah, interesting.
I will tell you this, having watched the whole thing, the ending gets stupid
Oh.
Well, I mean, no offense, but I could have guessed that from the premise. This is very highbrow theologian god.
Yes.
So what you're saying is, if we combine our my dislike of Bakuman and Death Note and your dislike of Platinum End's ending, that the author is 0 for 0
Yeah.
or 0 for 3.
It's okay. I'll fight back on behalf of just Bakuman. But yeah, I don't know. I think I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this was great.
Yeah.
No.
I think it's fine.
Like Knick-Knack said, I'm with him on this one. It's mid.
Yeah.
We have different issues, but we both agree that it's mid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think seeing the pacing laid out for me kind of solidifies my thought that I think it is probably the pacing that let this down as an anime. I think perhaps if it had, I mean, so to say, obviously new studio, like not a very well funded studio apparently, or something, since it's getting reabsorbed and they've barely done any projects. But
Kind
I
of makes
think,
me wonder why they even split the studio to begin with.
well, I won't speculate on that, but I think like if you consider Death Note got 44 episodes. 40 or 44, something like that. It's 40 something.
Because it got 2 seasons.
Bakuman, I think, got a solid amount of episodes. Let me take a look real quick, cause
Yeah, see how many episodes Bakuman had.
I'll check Death Note too. Okay, so
Because
Bakuman-
Death Note was adapted in like what 13 or was 13 volumes, right?
yes, so Death Note got you motherfucker. Okay. 37 episodes. So I was a little off. 37 episodes,
volumes.
but it was 12 volumes. Bakuman was 20 volumes, and it got 75 episodes, so it does fully adapt.
Yeah.
This was 14 volumes, so longer than
Yeah.
Death Note.
One volume more than Death Note.
2 volumes, 14, not 12.
Yep.
Um,
But got
and
24 episodes.
significantly less episodes than Death Note. Yeah.
So there might just be some real pacing issues from the manga here.
Yeah.
Because I personally, one of my problems with Death Note is I think it also has pacing issues. And I think they should have taken. I think the reason why I thought it was 40 is because I think I've always maintained that I thought 40 to 50 episodes would have been better for Death Note's pacing. I think this needed at least 30 to 40 episodes to probably flesh out what was happening. Like this, I think would have been good as like a 48 episode anime.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Two core seasons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just double the amount of time you have to tell the story, which theoretically, if they adapted it the way that I would have thought they would, all the battles are included, but then they had to cut out a lot of the explanation around stuff and give us those cutaways, right? So double the time, you don't have to add any more battles, but it balances out the interactions and explanations.
We say that, but are those cutaways from the manga? Because I'm pretty sure Death Note's cutaways
don't
are from
know.
the manga. These could be directly ripped from the manga,
I don't know.
but they could be leaning on it a lot more than the manga does.
I don't know, but either way, I mean, if they kept all the same battles that were shown in the anime to the manga, right? Then what they had to cut out was interpersonal stuff. That is the loser in this sort of thing. Like
Yeah.
when you adapt a battle royale, the thing you lose when condensing is always interpersonal reactions because you have to keep the battles in because it's a battle royale.
Yeah.
So
And they still have to kind of keep in the ideals where, you know, like the morality, like discussions that these characters have. So, like you said, the thing that gets cut is the interpersonal stuff.
Maybe there's a lot more build up on some of the villains, because we have some of the villains that just kind of get introduced and like they're dead an episode or two later.
yeah.
And it's like maybe they were built up a little bit better in the manga or something.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. Waifu Wars?
Waifu Wars?
Wars?
Waifu
Wars?
Waifu Wars. Waifu Wars. Knick-Knack.
Fuck you.
What? What do you mean? What do you mean?
My waifu is whatever cocaine the author is huffing while he was writing that explanation for the main girl's superhero suit. Like, what the fuck was that explanation?
Okay. Realm?
The grizzled old guy that's dying of cancer.
Oh, yeah. What's his face?
I can't-
Nanato.
Yeah, Nanato.
Hokkaido.
Yes.
Vorn?
The truckload of copium.
That's fair. I'm gonna get so much shit for this. But I kind of like the dude who believed in euthanasia.
Which character was
Which
that?
one?
Shuji.
The Metropolitan dude?
No. He's one of the
no.
candidates.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Huh.
he's one of the
I
candidates.
don't remember him.
Is he one of the kid ones or what? Which one was he? I don't think he was one of the older ones.
Has he even appeared in the series yet?
Oh, I watched further than episode 12.
Oh.
Oh, there the fuck why?
Well, there's...
Yeah,
Yeah,
this kid wasn't in the series.
Yeah.
Or
Go
he
fuck
wasn't,
yourself,
or
pick
he
another
wasn't,
anime
he wasn't
waifu.
in what we he wasn't in what we watched. So
he was in what I watched.
Pick a different waifu. Come on.
Pick it.
I don't have another. That kid was the only reason that kid is the only waifu I would have, and it's simply because I think it's funny that he believes in euthanasia.
No. This is not a cop-out you're allowed to have. You can come up with a different cop-out, but keep that cop-out anime relevant. I didn't even know Shuji was a character.
Yeah, same.
Go for the fucking child that died in the baseball field.
No.
We don't even.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
What is wrong with you?
I feel sad for that kid.
I mean, I do
You
too.
don't want them to be my waifu.
Yeah. Well, bizarre.
I refuse.
Especially considering we know absolutely nothing about that kid, aside from the depressing fact that, well, you know.
Respectfully, I refuse to pick a new character. I will not do it.
This is the hell you're going to die on, I see.
Fine, you got the copium choice as well. Great, let's get this over with.
Alright, well, if Knick-Knack, if you're editing this, you can just say that Seki's real waifu is the copium.
I'm gonna say her real waifu is the One Piece and the friends that she made along the way.
Yes.
On that note, go watch Bakuman.
Go watch Bakuman. Go watch Death Note.
No, just Bakuman.
Okay, fair enough.
I can watch Death Note if
Well,
you've
actually,
seen
you
it
know
before.
what? Yeah, saying go watch
Yeah.
Death Note is like telling you to go watch it again because you've probably already seen it, unless you're warned.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vorn, you need to go watch Death Note.
Fuck no.
Like, there's a clear spot where you can stop watching.
See, I like Bakuman more than Death Note, which is why I say Bakuman, not Death Note. Because Bakuman is less depressing and dark, so go watch Bakuman.
Okay, but like I feel like Death Note is more similar to this series if you like the tone of this series, whereas Bakuman is like the handbook of what the author's mistakes were with this series somehow written before this series came out.
It's called Apollo's Gift of Prophecy.
I will.
Nick?
Okay. Also, I guess.
And
one-
like Cassandra, cursed to not be believed.
So I know we already moved on from like waifu wars and like other like character stuff, but I will say I did like how main character's angel. I can't remember her name, but I liked how morally dubious she was.
Morally dubious. She's a fucking sociopath.
Yeah, that too.
Hey.
They're
We
angels.
cannot judge angels by human morality. These things exist on a different plane of existence with different rules and different abilities. You cannot judge them by human morality.
You and I both have a college education. Know that moral relativism is quite bullshit.
This is like aliens.
I'm just saying.
It's like as if aliens just popped into our world and like just said, "Hey, we gonna have a game."
I mean, no, Knick-Knack's got the right idea. Moral relativism is bullshit.
Yeah.
But still, it is a little funny
Yeah.
to consider.
I actually do have another recommendation that is not by this author.
Ooh.
I do recommend Parasite and the Maxim, the anime. So.
I think I speak on behalf of half the reviewers of this anime. Mirai Nikki.
Fuck it, Death Game. Go watch Fate Zero and Fate Stay Night. There we go. I've got my obligatory
Wait,
type
no.
movie
Here's
suggestion.
the
I'm getting
problem,
out of
though. You said Death Game. Death Game is an anime.
Yeah.
And I've seen Death Game, and it's not good.
Tachimachi game. Ajin for your darkness, and then something that probably would work way better for this kind of stuff.
Vorn, I will say that you were right about Ajin,
Yeah.
but Ajin is just like edge.
Yeah,
Oh,
like I said,
like-
dark.
High-rise invasion.
Ajin is the edge, the anime.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of like death games.
Yep.
So.
And something that kind of works a bit more better is working for God in a godless world.
That's something I can speak on. I actually like death games. I just think often they fall into the trap of just being a little too edgy for their own good. Like, murk a little girl just because it's the shocking thing to do within the first few episodes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That just felt like really like shock value-y. Yeah.
Like, oh no, you made this character I already was pretty well conditioned to dislike, and it really added no narrative benefit at all.
And it really didn't. And the thing was too is we knew nothing about that girl as a character.
Yeah.
Other than the depressing reality that we can infer from the rest of the narrative.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just not... you know what? I'm not a dark fantasy person. I'm not a death game person. I'm not particularly a thriller person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like my media dark.
I like it dark, like how I like my coffee.
I like my media like I like my coffee, full of so much vanilla creamer that you almost might not call it coffee.
It's more creamer. Would you like a side of coffee with your creamer?
It's about a 1/3 to 2/3 ratio in here.
I like my dark media. I just think that dark media doesn't mean have the most bare bones ass, basic, hit you over the head message coated in like a chocolate layer of edge.
Yeah.
That's not good dark media, and that's what that's what this has felt like within the episodes we watched. That's a lot of these kinds of shows I've seen in the past feel like.
I do appreciate that we started this review with, like, this is fine. It's not as good as Death Note. And now we're at, we really didn't enjoy this the more we talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I was, like, waiting to rip off the Band-Aid on that. Like,
that was also my thing. I was also waiting to rip off the Band-Aid, too, because I was going to say, like...
I love that we collectively all decided that we were going to let each other speak and not shit on this before shitting on this, and then we all just gently came to the same conclusion. That this was not good.
We all just collectively held the knife and spread the shit in a nice straight line.
Yeah, nice even layers.
Yeah. Lastly, I'll say something nice about this. I can watch this. This is watchable in a not thinking sort of way. The moment I try to think about it, the stuff that's just too repetitive, too shallow, just sticks out to me too much. But like, I could sit there and be like, yeah, this is a show that kills time. That's the nicest thing I can say about it.
Valid.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose we gotta pick a new anime.
Yes, we did.
Roll that wheel!
Yeah, it should be a random hat today.
It should be.
Spin the wheel.
Wheel of Fortune.
No, misfortune. Misfortune.
See, he's the one that's asking us to pull Citrus. I didn't ask for that. He's asking for misfortune.
What, do we have a Citrus season 2 in the hat?
Ugh, Citrus did not have a season 2. Do not talk like that. Okay. Number 307.
Oh my.
Oh boy.
That means alphabetically it's low.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Huh.
it's mine. The weakest tamer began a journey to pick up trash. Woo-hoo! This is another slime isekai.
Ah, wonderful.
Fucking
Yay!
rigged.
We need this. Believe me, we need this.
This.
After this stupidity.
I need something actually mentally stimulating, not something that puts me to sleep.
What, you wanted your darkness?
Knick-knack, I think for someone like you with insomnia, I think you need something to put you to sleep. So I think this is perfect for you.
I don't even have insomnia. I probably have the best sleep schedule out of everyone here.
That's actually fair.
I actually have started having a reasonable schedule.
My schedule's fucked right now.
I wake up usually around like 9 a.m.
All right, so we're what? Let's get the trailer for this.
the audience will readily notice that she remembers the trailer segment on her stuff all the time.
Of course.
On our stuff, she rushes
All
to
right,
the
y'all.
conclusion.
Yes.
Come on.
Come on. Get over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we have all seen the trailer for this.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Look, I'm just saying, in being with Platinum End, I feel like I want to go through a child in the wood chipper.
You're so mean.
Gosh.
You're so mean. She's an innocent child. Anyways, this is gonna be nice and refreshing and chill.
Guilt by association. Associated with slimes and associated with Seki. I'm going to hate on it. Not her fault, but it's her fault.
Look, I am on a quest to make sure that you guys watch every single slime anime that exists.
And Nick Nack is gonna hate it all the way through. He's gonna be a certified hater through and through.
Yeah, so we'll see you guys next time to watch a new slime anime. Bye!
Bye-bye.
Try harder, everyone.